Chemical formulas can be hard to understand, but the first step is understanding what they are doing. There are 5 kinds of chemical reactions, and in this video I'm going to cover what defines each of them and how to recognize them. The first kind of chemical reaction is synthesis, also called combination reactions. In these reactions, elements and compounds combine into new compounds. Synthesis and combination can seem like really complex words, but we can break them down using etymology to make them easier to understand. Synthesis comes from the Greek word sun Timothy, which comes from the roots of sun, which means together, and Timothy, which means to set or place. So in total, synthesis means to place together, which we can see in the reactions in which compounds and elements are placed together to make products. Combination comes from the Latin com, meaning with or together, and bi means two, and lastly, shun indicates process. So the full word means the process of putting two things together, which makes sense in the context of synthesis and combination reactions. The next kind of reaction is decomposition. In a decomposition reaction, a compound is broken down into other elements and compounds. Think of it like decomposition in nature, with fungus and worms. The word decomposition can be broken down into 5 pieces. The first one, de, means removal or negation. The next root, com, means with or together. Pause means to put, and lastly, shun is there to indicate process. So in totality, the word altogether means the process of putting things removed from each other, which matches perfectly with how decomposition breaks things down. The next kind of reaction is double replacement, or metathesis, and involves 2 compounds swapping parts, like with these shapes. Now, double replacement is pretty plain simple English, but metathesis is a slightly more complex word. It comes from the Greek word metatimothe, which is made of the word meta for among, and once again timothe for set and place, so in total it means to place among. There are 2 kinds of double replacement reactions. The first is neutralization, in which an acid and base mix together to form a water and a salt. A good example of this in the wild can be seen if you are ever out in the woods and touch stinging nettle. A great remedy is baking soda. This works because baking soda is a base, which reacts with the formic acid that causes the itchiness from the stinging nettle. The second kind of double replacement reaction is a precipitation reaction. In this kind of reaction, 2 aqueous solutions mix together to form a precipitate. There are a few good ways to figure out if a double replacement reaction is a precipitate one. First, check to see if all the compounds are ionic. Then check to see if the compounds are in solution. Lastly, make sure there is a precipitate. The next kind of reaction is single replacement, in which a compound has one of its pieces substituted for another kind of element or compound. It's like a simplified double replacement reaction. The last kind of reaction is combustion. The first part of the reaction is a hydrocarbon that's combined with an oxidation agent that turns into gaseous carbon dioxide and gaseous water, unless there isn't enough oxygen, in which case it turns into gaseous carbon monoxide and gaseous water. A great way to think about combustion can be seen in the fire triangle, which you may have seen in fire safety settings. The triangle shows all the things needed to produce the combustion which creates fire. On it we can see the reactants of oxygen and fuel that are needed. We can remember the things produced by the reaction by remembering that fire makes smoke.